What are the best comebacks in automotive history? That's today on Road Testament. Alex Roy's here.
Gumpert Apollo.
Yeah, right. Hey, welcome to Road Testament. Today we're talking about the comeback kids of the automotive industry, the brands that were down and out, and they made a big comeback. Alex Roy's here, fresh from a season of, what's your show again? Live and Let Drive.
I've only showered twice since Sandy started.
What did she start doing?
2 weeks ago, and I've had power the whole time and water.
Oh, the storm that f***ed us all up.
Yeah, let's not talk about my show. Back next season with surprises.
Yeah.
Let's get into this episode right now.
All right, at Drive on Twitter, Facebook.com/DriveTV, and that's all I got to say.
All right, the news of the week, which led to this episode, is Suzuki's American distributor bankrupt. They're pulling out of the U.S. market. And by the way, didn't you and Farrah do something recently about brands that should pull out?
By pull out, you mean?
Suzuki's one of those brands everyone's been saying for a while should pull out.
Oh, shouldn't be. That shouldn't just
in the U.S.
pull out.
market. And now they are pulling out. And
Yeah.
they were making this thing, which looks like a Touareg with smaller with a
No, but by the way, the SX4 is a really, really good car for the money. It's actually a fun car to drive. It's got really good dynamics for a tiny little car. A little high seating position, but it's good. And you can, me and Ian were talking about this before. What is it? You can get a automatic. Yeah. You can get all-wheel drive with a manual, which is getting increasingly hard to find. I don't know. You show up at the dealership with whatever's in your pocket, lint, a button.
So it's not bad.
No.
Look at where they were back in the day.
The Suzuki Swift GTI.
A car that has a breakdown clock instead of a license plate. Day, time, and location of breakdown.
Thursday at 3:43.
And that's exactly where we found this car. I mean, so Suzuki actually was in a bad spot, got good.
Yes.
And now they're gone.
I mean, and they actually had a comeback, and this is part of their comeback. You were talking about the Kizashi before.
The Kizashi, four-wheel drive.
What's good about this? I actually have never driven one of these.
Neither have I, but the ads make it seem really good, and the ads seem honest. It basically says, the ads basically say, do you want an Audi A4? Can you not afford one? Would you like one that's smaller with a different brand?
Yeah.
You can have this.
Wow. Well, no, I mean, it's a good-looking car. You know, I mean, if you see it up close, I mean, it's pretty good. But, I mean, unfortunately, Suzuki,
they're gone.
The clock ran out on Suzuki.
And there was a South Park, and it's gone.
Yeah. So, and also, all right, so the other news this week, which turned out to not really be news, was that Lancia was going away. Marchione, head of Fiat, somehow said that it was going away, and then it's not.
What you
but
really mean
Lancia is definitely in trouble no matter what the.
So they're not a comeback kid.
No, these are the ones. This is the reason why we're talking about comeback kids today, is because there are brands that seem to be going away. Right, exactly.
But look, there's a reason Lancia should go away.
Yes, look at where they were.
Right. Look at what they're giving us now.
So they went from the Integrale to the Lancia Grand Voyager,
also known as the Grande Aventura. But you know something? This car might have a reason to exist, not as a Lancia in Europe, because if you're in Europe, you have a lot of kids. What do you buy?
Yeah,
Renault Espace, Peugeot 806. These cars, they're cutting production. These companies are in trouble themselves.
There's nothing this big, this capable. If you've got a big family in Europe, I mean, they have zero population growth, so I don't know how many kids they have.
Lancia should go away.
But anyway, you're right. I mean, if Lancia is on the grill of a minivan, coming from its roots in rallying and in design,
it's
bad.
It's not good.
It's bad. So anyway, whatever happens to Lancia, we'll just keep an eye on.
Before we even switch to the next slide.
Okay.
All right. It is sad that I'm reminded of how old I am, almost 41, by how many people, girls I meet, don't remember that some brands like BMW and Audi were not good at one point. They weren't good.
Well, I mean, and the first one we're going to talk about is actually really interesting because there's a parallel with Toyota
today.
Recently,
next,
right?
What's the next?
Yeah. So it's Audi back in the 70s. This is like a 78, 79, 5000.
I mean, this car is so good that today aftermarket rims look just like the stock rims of 79. And look at the headrests. I mean,
yeah. And the GTs used to have the mesh in between.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a very, very cool period in Audi's history.
And think about it just for a second. This car is a direct evolution of the NSU,
Right.
which Audi purchased in the late 60s. So Audi was really kicking it early 80s with this car.
Right. And then by mid 80s, they had evolved into
The
the
5000
5000
CS.
Right. So, and around this time, 60 Minutes ran their
Swift boated them.
sort of swift boated them. They had their unintended acceleration problem, which really kind of messed them up as they were destroyed them. Yeah. As they were just getting a foothold in America, they were persona non grata.
And it took 10 years before the Audi A4 was released, 96.
And $1.3 billion in development to develop that A4. But here's the thing about this car is that the unintended acceleration stuff was never really proven.
It was never proven.
And it was really just apparently old
Pedal
people.
sizing
and pedal sizing.
And mistaken
Because,
driver error.
Right. I mean, basically they had been conquesting sales from Buicks and American
You
cars.
say conquesting sales?
Yeah, not the Dodge Conquest.
Go on.
But I mean, Americans were buying this, and Americans were used to having like the pedal, they didn't have any heel and toe action. It was just like giant gas pedal, giant brake pedal, and these were European. They were close together.
And you bring up the people taking sales from Buick. The Mercedes E-Class was just coming out during this time. There was no mid-sized Mercedes to buy.
That's very true.
Okay.
I forgot about that.
And the 5 Series was, ancient. It was seriously a brick with
Well, that 5 Series was the Bavaria, right? I mean, it came to America in like the mid '70s, and they had still had the same design. So you're right. This was a period.
This was a really big deal. This car.
And sales fell off a cliff.
Next.
So
Look at this guy.
So this is the comeback. So Audi's. I mean, by now, obviously, this is a couple of decades into their comeback. But the A7 is
awesome.
Absolutely beautiful car.
Yeah.
And that's where Audi is now. I mean,
it's like bringing a T1000 and a T101 fight. This thing is really, really cool looking.
Exactly. So Audi, a total comeback kid. Interestingly, it was the A4 though that brought it back. And it cost them more than $1 billion to make
And I had
that
a first gen A4. It's a good car.
Yeah, very good car. All right, next. What's next? Comeback kid. Oh, Porsche. All right, so you know about this era. You owned a car from this era. This is a 968. By the early 90s, right? So there was a global economic downturn. I don't know if everybody remembers.
Well, so by the late 80s, you had the end of like a 15-year evolution of the 911. I have an 87 Targa, great car.
Right.
And then 90, they came out with the worst 911 ever made. And then they had this thing.
The 964 was the...
Yeah, and then they had this thing was an evolution of the 944.
Yeah.
And sales were like, what, a couple thousand cars?
I mean, they went from sales in the 30,000 range, I guess that would be North American sales? Yeah,
I don't know.
Something like that. To like 4,000 sales a year, right? 4,000 cars a year sold.
Another brand that people forget today, every chick you meet in a club today forgets, Porsche was at one time.
They were on their ass back then. It was
knees.
Oh, sorry, knees.
I mean,
On the ass. How do you say knees in German?
I don't know.
Well, anyway, but the backstory is that the 911 hadn't progressed because the plan had originally been 928, 944. Those were the pillars of the brand, and 911 was going to go away.
And so in 90 to 93,
Yeah.
you had some really wretched 911s, except for the 3.6 turbo.
But right, okay.
Really bad cars. Oil leaks. I had a 90 C4, it's a terrible car. And then in 94, 95, they brought out the 993s, which were good.
Yep.
And then 96, 98, they had the last greatest ever 993s, last best air-cooled Porsches.
Yeah.
But the car that really saved them was the next slide.
Was this one, the Boxster?
96?
Yeah, 97. And there was so much latent demand for this thing that they couldn't stock them fast enough. I mean, all right, granted, sales fell off a cliff in a couple of years, and they never sold, I guess, as many as they did in the first couple of years. But it did kickstart them into the era of the Cayenne and the money-making era, and then they developed the 911 into what it is now.
This car was the new buyer car,
Yeah.
new Porsche people.
Well,
bought this car.
the problem that Porsche had was they had been going for scale. They wanted volume. They sold so many damn cars, but their margins were thin on them. What they decided was to change course and to sell fewer cars, but to make more money on them, to pare down the line. And you're right, they had improved. I mean, the 993. Look at what 993 era BMW 993 era 911s are going for right now. It's ridiculous money.
Yeah, you want to buy like a 98 Carrera S today,
Yeah.
I mean, is an expensive car. You
But
could
it's-
spend more than on a 991.
Yeah, and it's interesting that we talk about this as the comeback in terms of money, but rebuilding the 911, like taking the 911 and redoubling its efforts on it was really what happened.
You know, you could
to bring
almost
it
do a
back.
whole episode just about the comeback to the 911, because 911 has been like a Promethean brand.
Yeah.
You know, like going up the mountain, they fall back down again. Although now they're on a pretty good roll.
Yeah, maybe they're not going to. I think they're maybe reaching the volume that they were back then, but that's
No,
now
they're
with
way above.
all of their.
They're
Well,
way-
they're about 100 and
All I know is as
thousand a
long
year.
as they're getting people like my mom to option out Boxsters so that their retail price is double the base price, they're going to be okay.
They're doing fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. Porsche's back after a scare.
Oh.
Oh, Jag. So this is the Saint's car. I know our young viewers won't know what the hell this is.
Not, and if they do, they're going to think of the Val Kilmer edition.
Yeah, not that Saint. Right.
Which is, in fact, they didn't even give him a Jag in the Val Kilmer version of the Saint because it was so terrible.
Yeah, I never saw it. What did he drive?
I don't know. It wasn't a Jag.
It was a C70 Volvo.
A C70
God.
Volvo? Interesting.
Oh, God. So
The Segway of luxury cars.
you have this thing, which was an evolution of the XKE.
Sorry, Ian. No, it was a fine car. Continue.
So here you got this thing, which came after the XKE, which is itself, I mean, an embarrassment.
Well,
this
following
came
that,
after the XKE.
the XJ, I kind of like it. Well, go to the next
Go to the
one, Ian.
next thing.
All right, so this is the XJ12, right? Coming from the XKE, it is sort of interesting parallel. There is an interesting parallel between this. How's your foot?
My legs hurt.
just
Go
fell
on.
asleep?
My legs hurt. Go on.
But we bought this new couch just for you.
Go on.
All right, so the interesting parallel between this and between Porsche and Jag is that they both went up market. Porsche did the 928, Jag did the XJ, and neglected the bread and butter, which was the XKE, right? Because it was aging.
They also neglected the buyers of the cars because I knew at age 9 that Jags had electrical problems. I knew this. And even today, I wouldn't buy one because of my latent memory of that.
Right.
If there is one person alive at Jag who was employed at that time, I will not buy a Jag because his influence is somewhere in the company. I mean, they were really the laughing stock of high-end cars, equivalent to Maserati. They had to be.
Well, even worse. But the problem, the thing about Jag is that it was amazing that people still bought them. I mean, there were jokes about Jaguar like years and years and years before, but people kept buying them, and they never ran out of brand equity.
I'd love to know what percentage of Jaguars were sold in England based on nationalist loyalty. And then after that, what percentage were sold in Connecticut? Because that has to be...
Because of nationalist loyalty?
Yeah, southeastern England and Connecticut had to be the major markets.
Right,
Because
right.
the range of the vehicle prior to breakdown was limited to your city house to your manor.
That's very true.
And that was
actually very interesting parallel. You're right. It's like a very London to
London to Downton Abbey.
Downton Abbey.
That's
Thank you very
the
much.
distance.
So then Ford took them over and put them under their wing.
And then they lost everyone who was, I guess, classist against Ford, but gained a new audience.
Well, they did, but although in the UK Ford had a better image, it wasn't.
Ford has a better
Ford
image
is
in
a
the UK than here.
pretty. I mean the what was the Ford? Ford Cosworths and all
Right,
that stuff.
right.
And the AJ V8 came out of this period, which was actually a pretty good thing to.
Well, this thing came
pretty
out in
good evolution.
1996. Is that correct?
Something like that.
Okay, and think about it. In '96,
Yeah,
this was a pretty big deal.
it's a giant deal.
A
Yeah.
because this was clearly not an evolution of prior models. It was fresh. I mean, it didn't turn me on, but boy, if you're a Jag buyer, this thing was a big turn on.
And not only that, it's totally not as shitty as the stuff that came before it.
Yeah,
I mean, I
it's a
would
decent car.
almost buy one of these right now. I'm just.
That's where you and I differ. But let's go to the
But they were
next slide.
on their way back, and now here
Now
we
you
are.
have this.
Right, the XKRS.
And
Yeah,
this
thank you very much.
This is pretty business. I mean, again,
This is
it's not my cup of tea, but this is not a car to be ashamed of.
No,
No.
this is a
Although,
badass car.
I mean, yeah. You know,
It's
something-
not the
I'm with
best
you.
handling thing. You know what I mean? It's not going to win the numbers games, but it is when you drive this thing, you feel like
Here's where I'll give Jaguar props.
the same.
Okay, there was Richard Hammond was saying not that long ago that the biggest problem in the car industry is everybody wants to be BMW. Everybody wants to have the best comfort and the best handling, which is impossible. If it was possible, 7 Series sales wouldn't suck compared to S-Class. There are people who want comfort.
Yeah.
And Jag has really done a great job of maintaining the comfort while adding handling. And they're not trying to build a pure handling car.
Right.
And they shouldn't.
Yeah. You know, this is sort of the British Corvette with more
It's the
style.
British Supra. Let's move on to the next brand.
Anyway, no, but wait a minute.
Next model.
So by the way, right. So to complete the comeback, the F Series
This is a great looking car.
is a really great looking car.
And you know, it's so great, it's like what the Ferrari California should be, because it's not a poser BS sports convertible.
Yeah.
It is really good looking. It's the car Jaguar should have been making for the last 20 years. And it's,
Perhaps.
I'm excited for them. I mean,
Yeah, me
it's,
too.
I would, again, I don't want one, but I'd put it on the list.
Yeah.
Because it's the right size,
Yeah.
it's cool, it's got pedigree, it's got brand, it's got history, and I bet you it's going to be a great car.
Yeah, I can imagine. Also, you know, with Land Rover and the Evoque doing really well, they're making money hand over fist in China. So economically, they're doing great now. Their profits are up, and so they can keep using. They can do the Porsche thing. Just keep using that money to build better sports
I'll
cars.
say something real. I'm going to take a lot of heat for this. This is one of the rare cars which, if you're looking at buying a Boxster, you can actually comparo shop against this. And there's not many people who are making a car comparo shop against a Boxster.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I am totally curious to see if this will come anywhere near a Boxster, because Boxster is probably the best driving car on
But
that you
remember,
can buy right now.
the person who buys this car is not looking for the best handling car.
Right,
And the
right.
majority of Boxster buyers don't give a shit about handling.
Yeah.
They're buying because it's the only car of its kind at its price from a luxury brand that happens to be good.
Yeah.
And this doesn't have to be the best handling car. It just has to be good.
Yeah.
And they will steal Boxster
It's a
sales.
Jag.
What's next?
Oh, the Catera. So you guys may recognize this as the
Opel.
Opel Omega. No, Opel Senator. Opel Congressman.
An Opel.
Is the Opel Congressman.
The Opel Chamberlain. And this was sold as a Cadillac.
So they brought it over here as a Cadillac, and they called it the Catera because it sounded like a
A hot Italian chick's last name.
a hot Italian dental assistant. Lisa Catera. So they actually, you know, for the commercials, the what do you call it? Not the sidekick. They used a duck, like a little.
You're getting too complicated. Go to YouTube and look up Lisa Catera.
Yeah.
Like Lisa Catera. There's an ad.
Yeah.
There's they actually had NBC or ABC place a character in a show named Lisa Catera as a pun on the.
Did they really do that? I didn't even know that.
As a pun on the Lisa Catera.
Yeah. So they wanted to, because they were going after lease buyers, and they were going after women with this, and so they had a little duck animated character that was like would follow. It was like the caddy that zigs. Was the line. And the duck would like follow the like Cindy Crawford would be driving. I mean, it was like they were really going
The only
heavy
thing
on
worse than selling an Opel as a caddy would have been if Cadillac bought Excalibur
Oh.
and just
put out
sold those.
sold Excalibur?
Like Look, it was probably an either or, and they thought this was less risky. I mean, horrible. Cadillac. And I had a 77 Fleetwood. It was my dad's car. It's a great car. This
Yeah.
was really the bottom.
And by the way, at the same time, they were making North Star V8s. They were making a double
good
overhead
car.
cam V8, that
But
was pretty good.
It wasn't big enough. The STS, North Star V8, was the right car at the wrong audience.
Yeah.
It was the car that BMW buyers would have been interested in, but they wouldn't because the entire brand lineup was tainted by this.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that you're right. I mean, luxury in America had taken a turn toward Germany, and so Cadillac executives decided that they were going to start incorporating European ideals
By
into
ripping
some
off
of the cars.
mid-grade, second-tier German sedans.
And they did just the worst job of it. I mean, it was really like just a hack.
Yeah.
And then you ended up, this was just the final straw
Yeah.
at the end of it all, was that they brought, this
People
Opel.
forget.
People forget.
All right, and then you had the comeback vehicle.
So the comeback vehicle was basically...
well, this was the interim comeback car.
Yeah.
The
So the
CTS.
CTS was a pretty good platform, and ultimately, Ian, if you continue, so and I don't want to say that the CTS wagon was the comeback thing, which is because they sold about 5 of them, but
it's a great car.
It's a great car, so we just wanted to.
I mean, because you know something? You know a brand is going in the right direction when they decide to make a low-volume sports wagon that even for brands that do it well doesn't sell. How many M5 wagons are sold? Not many, but it's a halo car.
Yeah.
It's a halo car. But the real comeback car for Cadillac was the Escalade,
really it was the Escalade, yeah.
which is really a Yukon.
Right. It's just a dopey GM large SUV.
And the first gen Escalade, I know we don't have a picture of it here, but the first gen Escalade literally was a Denali with a Cadillac badge on it.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't until like the second or third year that this became like a bling-tastically, like a seriously high-end, car.
By the way,
this changed everything for them.
Yeah, I love the Escalade. I have to say, like I used to think it was an affront to everything that was
Me too.
Was good under the sun. It really is. We drove one of these to a shoot once, and I'm telling you what, like this is the new American luxury. This is our S-Class. Like you can.
This is our Range Rover. Dude.
No, but you know what it is?
It is. Yeah, it's the whole thing.
It is really our S-Class.
It's the whole thing.
Because you drive a Range Rover, it's still.
It's going to break down. This might actually last.
But the Range Rover at least has a little bit of a sort of English countryside sporting feel to it. This is nothing but like cruiser. There's so much space. It's like you look around and it's like being outside, but you're inside.
And nobody else does it as well, even
No.
today after all these years. Because the Cayenne, if you think about it, it's great, but it's really small compared to this thing.
Yeah.
And the Range Rover, I don't care what it is or what it ever becomes, it's just never going to last. And everyone knows this. Try to lease one. It's a joke. I mean, you buy a 3-year-old Range Rover is 80% off depreciation. These things, good.
Yeah.
What's next?
That's it. At Drive on Twitter.
We forgot one.
Okay.
The ultimate comeback brand that only Alex Roy would ever think of.
Okay.
Morgan.
Oh, but wait, they never really went away, did they?
Not true. They did go away. In the mid-90s, there was a show called like Business Confidential in England, where they go and analyze businesses that are failing and give advice. And Peter Morgan, the son of HFS who founded it, was the CEO, and Charles was at that point like out of college or who knows what he was doing. And they basically told Peter Morgan, you're done, dude. You are toast. Like the delivery times are up to 10 years. You have a 10-year wait to buy a car. And the cars were
10
unchanged
years.
for 15 to 20 years.
Wait, who they have 3 people building them? Like, how did that?
And after seeing the show, Charles Morgan Jr. went to his father and he said, give me a job and I'm going to turn this thing around. And about 7 years later, the Aero 8 came out in 2002. Okay? And then they had the Aero Max, the Aero Super Sport, and now they have the 3-wheeler. And if you go to that factory,
and you have one.
and
of
I
those.
bought a 3-wheeler.
Yeah.
If you go to that factory today, I mean, talk about turnaround. The bigger the company, the more likely they'll turn around. Small ones usually go away. Anyway, let's move on. Next week, we're covering Gumpert Apollo and brands that actually did go away that no one knew did when they went. And because they just
'Cause they
filed
just
for
faded away.
bankruptcy and got refinanced.
That's it.
And we'll
Cool.
discuss vehicles for disasters, the power of diesel.
And yeah, by the way, right. I mean, that's the thing. Sandy, the hurricane that we just had. I don't know if you remember that. The everyone's power was out, and so we've had gas lines. I mean, we're living in the apocalypse right now, and the only people that are living large like they should,
Diesel drivers.
because there is plenty of diesel available
Yeah.
at these gas stations.
Thanks for having me. I'm going to go home
Yeah,
and shower.
You're going to be on next week too,
Yeah, I'll be here.
and Matt Farah is going to be on next week too.
Look forward to seeing him.
Look at that, the old gang. All right, see you guys later.
Bye.
Road Testament.